Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Seattle. I am your host, Jeff Mandels, at 206-979-2601. And keep your emails streaming in at jmandels@evergreenhomeloans.com. We're coming to you from KGNW 820 AM on your dial. We're here to tickle your senses with the unedited facts about real estate and housing in the Seattle Puget Sound area. It is our privilege to have as our guest this afternoon Katherine Swanberg. She is the president of REEPS, Real Estate Association of Puget Sound. Good afternoon, Katherine.
Hi, Jeff.
I've been familiar with your organization since about 1997. How long has REEPS been around, Katherine, and how did it get started?
REEPS was started back in 1983 by a very small group of real estate investors who were looking at basically finding a group like themselves to network with and to be able to get education and partner with on deals. And our organization grew from 1983 up until, I think the height of our membership was probably 2004 and 5 and 6. And, we've been around for about 27 years.
Wow. Is membership down a little bit over the past few years as compared to, I guess it kind of followed the market, didn't it?
It did, yes. We were 100% volunteer-ran association up until about 2004. And then we grew so rapidly that we needed our very first full-time employee to do just the basic day-to-day management to service our members.
Yes.
And, of course, we exploded 2004 and 5, just like real estate did in Seattle. And then what you're seeing now is a trend across the country with other REIAs that are like our group. You are seeing a trend. There are other REIAs that have completely closed their doors. There are other REIAs that have just declined in membership, and you can bet when people are cutting back on their spending, they're not spending money on dues for professional associations. People aren't spending money on marketing as much. A self-employed business owner, for example. And, of course, a lot of people just got really scared and decided, you know what, I don't want to invest in real estate right now because I don't know what the future looks like, and this is unprecedented, and I don't recognize this environment. Yeah. So, we did see a decline in membership, but we've been really fortunate that things are starting to stabilize and we're actually starting to grow again.
That's wonderful. For those that don't know, you mentioned REIAs. What is that?
REIAs. REEPS is a member of National REIA. It's a real estate investment professional association.
I see.
And so what you'll find is, REEPS, the Real Estate Association of Puget Sound, is one of the largest REIAs in all of the northwestern United States.
Yes.
But there are REIAs in almost every state. And so we have sister REIAs across the country.
Oh, okay. So you can at any time somewhat compare notes.
Exactly, yeah. So we are all members of a larger national association. So when it comes to best practices, finding speakers, comparing notes on how to run your organization efficiently and what's, in the best interest of our members, we have lots of other REIAs in the country that we can collaborate with.
Wow. You mentioned investors, is there one overriding mission of REEPS, or does it is it more than one, or what is it actually, Katherine?
Yeah, our mission statement is really twofold. One, it's to provide a place for networking for the real estate investor, and then the people that have products or services that are a good fit for investors.
Yes.
And our second is really about education. Because of the size of our organization and the reputation it has in our country, we are able to bring some really top-name national speakers and trainers and investors to come speak for our group that other people wouldn't be able to have. So it's twofold. It's networking and education. And
I've been to some of your meetings, and the speakers they're informative, fun, and some of them are dynamic. It really is good stuff.
Yeah, we do a lot of different kinds of meetings because just like you can imagine with real estate investing, there's a lot of different types of investing and a lot of different kinds of people that are interested in wholesaling, fixing up properties, flipping them for profit, foreclosures, short sale negotiation. There's so many different facets to investing that our calendar is diverse.
Oh, I remember once, many years ago, being at one of the seminars, and there was a gentleman speaking about purchasing of notes. And very, very, you cover the entire spectrum of anything having to do with real estate.
Correct.
In the recent meetings, or even over the last year or two, since the market has gone sideways somewhat, what, if any, are there any major concerns that you find coming up again in the meetings, concerns that your members have in relation to our market? Is there one thing? Are there many things that you spot?
Well, right now in Washington State, we have some new legislation that's affecting how we are able to do transactions. For example, there's new rules on if you want to buy property and fix it up and sell it for a profit, for example. We have new laws that say that you need to be a general contractor in order to do that kind of work on your own real estate. If you want to work with people that are distressed, and those are people that need to sell their home, who are in foreclosure, who for some reason are no longer able to afford the homes that they're in, there are new rules that protect those consumers, and it affects how real estate investors are able to market and able to communicate and find these prospective sellers.
Wow, that's interesting. And these are fairly recent changes.
Yep, they're all in the past couple of years. And because they're new, the funny thing is, part of our job is to educate our members. And we'll go out and we'll ask, maybe 5 or 6 attorneys to come sit on a panel at one of our meetings and help us understand how these new laws affect the way we want to do business from a transactional standpoint.
Yes.
And we'll ask the same questions to 5 different attorneys, and we'll get 5 different answers. And it's kind of scary because these are new and they haven't been seasoned, and we don't exactly know how the Attorney General is going to rule. Nobody wants to be the guinea pig and find out that they've done a deal that's considered to be a violation of one of these rules. And so there's been a lot of sitting on the sidelines and waiting to see what happens. Yeah. And that's unfortunate because there's a lot of opportunity to help people that really need a resource right now. And the real estate investors and the community of investors are a great group of people to plug in and provide those solutions.
That's interesting. What I've found also in the lending industry is that they've come up with guidelines, new guidelines that just seem to be thrown, like they say, thrown against the wall, and so far some of them are sticking. Mm-hmm. The effort is a noble one. The implementation is a little, shabby. Not shabby, that's not the right word. It's ill-conceived. It's a noble effort, but it's not really working all the time. And I guess it's the same thing here. The laws that you're saying to protect these folks against predators, basically. But what is it really? You're right. And until the first case is thrown out there as a test, everyone is somewhat walking in a gray area. Very
much so. And, I have a background also in lending, so I know I know that analogy of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
And you're right. The pendulum is swung so far to the side of protection and safety that, we're making decisions that aren't necessarily ultimately in the best interest of the consumer.
Right.
And really stop the flow of business and the ability for transactions to close. And it hurts us from a lot of different angles.
One more quick question that just came to mind before we take a break. Do you find because of that, Katherine, that investors, from what you see, are they hesitant right now in buying property because of the regulations that are in place?
Absolutely. I would say that in the past couple of years, there's been more hesitation than there is now.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see now a surge of people coming to meetings that used to be members of REEPS but had let their memberships expire and are now coming back.
Yeah.
And so that's really positive and very good news because it means people are not as afraid as they were, and they're willing to go and get their feet wet and see how they want to start investing again in this new market.
And they're also identifying the opportunities that absolutely do exist out there. You know, I've said, you know, let's turn market adversity into personal opportunity, because there are bargains out there. There absolutely are. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is Jeff Mandels on Real Estate Radio Seattle, KGNW 820 AM.